and welcome. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Chopra. Now, Iran and Pakistan have been at diplomatic loggerheads for about all of past week, and over the last couple of days, Iran in particular has sought to clarify that both countries in fact want to take on terrorism together. Iran's foreign minister has now visited Pakistan, where he held a joint press conference with Pakistan's foreign minister as well, where the two stressed on the fact that they want ties to improve and deepen. However, the fact is that Iran is looking to Pakistan to help it supposedly combat terrorism, given Pakistan's track record with terrorists shows a clear intervention by a mutual friend of the two countries. How does this bid to engage Pakistan to fight terrorism really is the big question. And of course, the big moment today is how 9 gunmen were shot in Pakistan just a few days after Pakistan and Iran decided that they will now settle the tensions of the past week. Interesting developments taking place in the entire region. I have with me on the broadcast Wing Commander Praful Bakshi. I also have with me Major General Dhruv Katoch, Major General Sudhakarji and Patikrit with us as well. Let me begin with Major General Dhruv Katoch if I can. Major Katoch, I'd just like to understand from you, sir. Iran, sir, in the beginning has started somewhat of a proxy war against Israel and in the larger scheme of things, the United States of America with the Hamas attack, it is believed. Then, of course, with the backing of the Houthi rebels in Yemen attacking commercial ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Eden. While some of these covert operations go on, we've also seen Iran opening up 3 fronts. One is not just against the airstrikes in Pakistan, but also Syria and Iraq. And Iran says that this is all in response to terrorist activities backed by terrorists in its neighboring countries. What do you make really of the developments that are taking place? What do you think has resulted in Iran opening up conflicts on multiple fronts, both covertly and overtly?
Thank you, Devika. In my view, I think Iran has been under pressure for a very, very long time from the United States and its allies through sanctions. Now, those sanctions, as of now, don't appear to be disappearing. And perhaps Iran feels that it has nothing to lose. So long as it was confined to, giving support to the Houthi rebels or an anti-Israeli rhetoric, things were acceptable. But when the thing has gone beyond that stage and there appears to be a sort of rivalry developing between Iran and Pakistan, that holds much more dangerous portents. And which is the reason why the United States and China both have actually, in a sense, tried to inform both these two parties to cool down. Now, whether that cooling down takes place or not, that time will tell. But the real danger really lies if hostilities continue within these two countries. That may actually go beyond a particular scale, a particular level, and then we will find right from the entire seaways from the Red Sea up to the Gulf. Those waters may become so dangerous that most of the shipping will be impacted, which means that 80 to 90% of the shipping will be forced to move via the Cape. Now, that is not going to be a good portent for the world. More importantly, if the energy supplies stop, then that is going to hit most countries in a very crucial manner, especially China. So China is pressurizing Pakistan, and the United States is keeping some sort of pressure on Iran to make up so that the hostility levels remain at a lower level. We will see as to how this is going to go, but Iran is on the back foot as of now. It is fighting on too many fronts, and I think they will have to compromise in some manner, or else they will look to the United States to ease the burden of sanctions. Somewhere something is going to happen, and we will see this happening within the next 3 to 6 months. Devika.
Okay, let me bring in Wing Commander Praful Bakshi as well. Wing Commander Bakshi, I'd just like to understand from you as well, sir. On the same note, what really has happened in the recent past for Iran to not only take up some of these operations, like I've said, through the Hamas against Israel in a larger scheme of things against the US, but also then open up 3 fronts with Pakistan, with Iraq and with Syria as well?
Yes, Devika. Iran has played a very strange game lately. Of course, it is supporting the underground elements of Houthis as well as Hamas. There's no doubt about it. But helped by China and Iran. China is also helping Pakistan and Iran. But the question out here is that when was found by China that Iran and Pakistan, both its supporters, are at loggerhead with each other, immediately both of them were made to realize that we must simmer down. But the problem on the border, where the various tribes on the both sides of the border and not seeing eye to eye with each other, they have various factions. They are in a fight. What were the 9 Pakistani doing in Saravan? That aspect is asked everybody. People have not been clarified. But America wants to contain China out there and wants to contain Iran out there. So you will find involvement. Now suddenly America has realized that it cannot ignore Pakistan as it was really tending to do. So it will make sure that China, which is making its presence felt to CP, China-Pakistan economic corridor and all that thing, and facing the wrath of Baloch. Now Baloch are against both Pakistan and China. They are there and they are fighting each other also. Though there are multiple fights which are going on in this area of Pakistan, Iran and Balochistan, that circle. So this aspect is very, very dangerous. And Iran is also supporting the Houthis against America. So America is quite peeved off with Iran at that moment. It is peeved off with China. So this aspect is now boiling. The entire world opinion is out there where the international trade routes, they will be affected, including oil, including our various elements out there. So at the moment, Pakistan government, which is now trying to recover, will try to contain these elements, and probably they are exchanging goodwill visits with Iran to curtail and simmer down the conflict.
Absolutely. I'll come to you in just a moment, sir. Let me bring in Major Sudhakarji into the conversation as well. Major Sudhakarji, I'd just like to understand from you, sir. First, Iran carries out the airstrikes against Pakistan. Then Pakistan does retaliatory airstrikes. Both the countries claiming that either neighbor is providing safe haven to terrorists that are operating against the neighboring country. And then you have their foreign ministers meeting and talking about how they've managed to maintain their differences over many years, and they've managed to maintain some form of just being able to live together. Today, news comes in that gunmen have also killed 9 Pakistanis in the southern eastern border of Iran, and Iran absolutely, of course, says that it has no involvement in what has happened there. What really do you feel is then the motive of Iran at this point in time in bringing up the issue of terrorism with Pakistan?
Okay. Devika, good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. Well, you are doing an excellent job as far as the pointed agenda is given for this particular session or the panel discussion. But no panel discussion of this nature would be complete unless we take a holistic view. If you look at what has happened, 9 people have been killed, Pakistanis, by some gunmen in isolation. It will never give you the complete picture. While 9 people have been killed by an unidentified gunman, let's not lose sight of the fact that today only, I've just come back from another panel discussion. Northeast Jordan, the Americans have lost 4 soldiers, 30 people are injured. America has taken a decision. There is a domestic constituency which is putting pressure on Biden to go full hog for the conflict in the Middle East. So
Yes.
what started as a small trigger of Hamas attacking against Israel, call it as a local event, it has turned into a regional conflagration extending from Red Sea right up to call it the Syria, Iraq, the Kurdistan, and Northeast Jordan. Superpower is being, pushed into it, is dragged into the conflict now. Also, at the same time, the Mexican stratagem, which I have shared in your channel number of times, every stakeholder has got two guns pointing at the other. So, to save on time, I'll come straight to respond to your query. This particular thing of tit for tat between Iran and Pakistan is not a new phenomenon.
Yes.
The Jaish Adal was created, it came into existence, if I respect my memory and research, sometime in 2012. They are tacitly supported by USA. They have got linkages with ISIS, unofficially, informally I'm saying. They are also supported by ISI of Pakistan in the year 2014, and thereafter there have been repeated attacks by this particular organization against Iranian forces. Take your mind back to 2019, sometime in March or April, if I remember correctly, the IRGC, the Iranian Republic Guard Corps, 27 of them, including a Colonel Saab, they were decimated. They were killed by a Fidaini attack. And immediately after that, Iran had given a threat to Pakistan: if you do not keep this party organization under your control, we are afraid we have to take recourse to very kinetic and serious measure. So nothing happened. Thereafter, the pandemic and everything quietened down. But come 2022 and beginning of 2023, things have been happening in some form or the other. And now it had to manifest on the day of anniversary of General Soleimani. 80 people killed and more than 100 are injured. So why all this is happening? There is a BLF, Balochi Liberation Army. There is a Balochi Liberation Front who are operating in the Sinistan of southeastern province of Iran.
Yes.
Iran incidentally had annexed part of Balochistan way back in 1925. Okay, and there is also this force, Jaish Adal, which is operating, duly supported by USA, duly supported by ISI of Pakistan, operating on the soil of Pakistan against the Iranians. So when something happens in Pakistan side, they should always expect a kind of a response from the other side. This is one part. Second part I wish to highlight is that it has become absolutely a complex issue. If America is drawn into the conflict, I think it is about time some wisdom has to actually be taken cognizance of. They need to sit down to find a peaceful solution, mindful of the fact that the elephant in the room is China. And mind you, it is Iran and Russia together that had ensured the continuity of Assad regime in Syria. So don't forget about the footprint of Russia. Russia is also playing its role there quietly. And let's not lose sight of the fact what is happening in Armenia and Azerbaijan. So the whole West Asia is actually burning or about to burn. Things are becoming very difficult in the backdrop of pandemic, Russia-Ukraine war, and this Hamas thing. I think the time has come wherein the global order has to actually take cognizance of this. But my assessment, Devika, if you allow me 2 more lines, that this situation will continue unabated. Why? Because this is the election year. Why? Because Joe Biden's rating has fallen drastically. Why? Because the Democrats, come what may, they will go all out to come back to power. They will never. The Republicans are definitely going to come back to power as per my assessment. Therefore, this conflict in the domestic constituency of America is going to be the primary driving force, whether the ongoing conflict will continue or it will come to a ceasefire. Back to you, Devika.
Okay, Pathikrit, let me bring you into the conversation. If we are to go ahead with the belief that while Pakistan and Iran claim to have solved some of the recent differences and that they want to go back to being friendly neighbors, but at the same time, as a lot is being said online as well and in reports that relations between Pakistan and Iran will not return to what they were. If there is now a possibility of an open conflict between Pakistan and Iran, what does that really look like, and what does that then mean for another important country in the neighborhood, which is India?
Devika, first of all, if there is a potential chance of any conflict, then the Pakistan deep state will consider it as a boon in disguise. The reason is simple. For far too long in the recent past, the US has completely ignored Pakistan. And Pakistan being a state which never was viable, were always dependent because of its nuisance value. In the last 3-4 years, if you see the sudden decline and the complete mess that the Pakistan economy has been in, not because of debt and anything else, it was always there. The issue is they were never a viable economy. It's because Pakistan was dumped by United States. So if there is a potential chance of a conflict between Pakistan and Iran, Pakistan will, and I'm sure they have already gone to the Americans and said that, look, we are more than willing to fight your proxy war on the northern side to contain Iran, because Americans themselves have put themselves in a quagmire because of their complete support for Israel, for whatever is happening in Gaza. They are into a trap from which they neither can come out, nor they are willing to completely engage into a full-fledged war with Iran. So that's one part. So I think Pakistan is not too unhappy, at least the deep state. Secondly, there was never beyond a point, at least on the face of it, yes, they tried to have good relations. But there was so much of what you call sectarian rivalry between the two countries that they were never at peace with each other. You know, there's an organization called Sipai Sahaba in Pakistan. Almost on every Friday, wherever there used to be congregations by the Shias in Pakistan who are a minority, there used to be blasts. And it's a norm than an exception. Similarly, as General Sudhakarji mentioned, there are so many, there is a multitude of organizations who have their own interest over there. They don't actually believe beyond a point of care what the government is saying. For example, we might say that there is a sectarian issue between Iran and Pakistan. At the same time, one cannot rule out the possibility that the Afghan Taliban and Iran in certain way converging in their deep disdain and hatred for the deep state of Pakistan and for what they have done. Last week, I think General Asim Munir went to United States, and I think the Iranians have pretty much now convinced that Pakistan has sold itself off, whatever it was left of itself, to the Americans, and they will do the Americas bidding in terms of fighting this proxy war. See, if you look at it, for the kind of precision strike that the Iranians did in Pakistan, what Pakistan did was a hogwash and a show off. It's very similar to what they tried to do after the Balakot airstrike. But what the Iranians did inside Pakistan, or the kind of ballistic missile Iran used inside Syria and in certain parts of Iraq, these are force projections being done by Iran to tell the Americans perhaps and to the Israelis that today's Iran is different. They have the potential to launch full-scale, long-range attacks. These are signals being sent. On a larger scale, let me tell you this: whatever conflict is happening, there are so many layers of that conflict that it is difficult for anybody to come out of it. The core issue is this: whether it is India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, or whether it is the entire rise of Saudi Arab as a country which is coming out of its dependence of oil economy. I think the Iranians are telling it loud and clear that if the sanctions on Iran continue, and if the rest of Middle East try to prosper, then Iran will not let it happen. Iran will create the problems, whether it is the sea routes or anywhere else. It doesn't mean that Iran is a holy cow and there should not be any sanctions on them. Whatever support they give to Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, it is all well too known. The issue is this, for far too long, Iran has played the game of proxy war. Today, there is a chance that Iran might try to come out of the shackles and go for a full-fledged conflict.
Okay.
Whether it happens or not, we don't know. But the overall volatility of the situation is concerned, the price of oil is concerned, its impact in South Asia, these are all issues, I'm sure countries are concerned with. Yes, there is a Russia angle to it. Yes, there is a China angle to it. But to what extent, that would help in containing Pakistan and Iran? It's a big question mark, because many of these elements, as has been stated earlier, may not even care. So the whole of Middle East and is actually going up in the flares. very similar to what happened a decade back when ISIS came out of nowhere and went on burning the whole of Middle East. So where it goes from here, let me tell you, nobody knows. It would be very difficult even for Trump if he comes back to power, and hopefully he would. It would be very difficult even for the United States to have a complete hands-off policy from Middle East, because
Right.
Iran today has internal issues also. Its force projection and a compulsion of a war cannot be ruled out, because it has to justify its own existence to its own people, because there's a lot of rebellion happening within Iran itself. Same with
Yes.
Pakistan. So conflict, we don't know, but its possibility at a larger scale
Okay.
cannot be ruled out. It's a regional issue going on now. It's no
Okay.
more a Hamas versus Israel.
Okay, Major General Dhruv Katoch, do you also then agree somewhere that all of these wars are simply proxy wars and a larger message is then simply for, say, a United States of America?
No, I think that is a bit too simplistic to view that everything which is happening now in West Asia is at the behest of the United States. But the United States is a powerful country, it is a superpower, but it doesn't have that power to create such sort of dissension. And in West Asia today, it does not suit American interests, regardless of the fact that Biden wants to stay on in power. But getting onto another war is the surest way of getting him out of power. So I don't think the Americans would be interested in making further adding fire to what is going on. The larger issue is really, that in the backdrop of the larger issue, the way I look at it, is a sectarian war. The regional conflict for supremacy in the Islamic world between the Sunnis and the Shias. And that is something where, the alignments have taken place. Now, as far as Pakistan is concerned, there will be no full-scale war between Pakistan and Iran, because that is not the type of conflict which Iran will fight. Iran is going to fight a different war. And I don't think that sort of war which Iran will fight will be to the liking of the Pakistanis. It'll be very difficult for Pakistan now to look into the Iranian front, to the Afghanistan front, and to what is happening internally within its own provinces, especially because the troops which they have earmarked as a defense for Pakistan against India, they won't be able to touch most of them. So Pakistan is in a very, let me say, a very delicate position. They may ask the Americans for help, but there is no way in which the Americans are going to support the Pakistanis in a bid to destabilize West Asia. That's not the way I see it. I think if you're looking for peace, which I don't see coming in the immediate future, the first thing which needs to be done is for sanctions against Iran to go. And if you can't do that, then they will have to look at something called a regime change. If you can change the regime in Iran, then sanctions will go and peace will return. But barring that,
But
I
Major
don't see
Dhruv
any end
Katoch,
to
when you
this
talk about a
conflict.
regime change in Iran, sir, how is that even possible at this point in time? Because we've seen, and certainly the United States of America is probably not going to be stepping foot in the region for a very, very long time now, given what has happened very recently with them in Afghanistan. They tried their very best of course, they managed the regime change, and it stayed on like that for a while until the situation got out of hand, and we saw how the United States of America had to exit Afghanistan. So when we talk about a regime change in Iran, how does that even happen?
When I talk of the regime change, it is not going to be by military involvement of the United States. It is going to be United States pumping in money to certain opposition groups within Iran to effect that change, to create such violence within the country. And that is possible. So whether that takes place or not, but unless one of these two things take place, you remove sanctions, situation will improve, and or you carry out a regime change in whichever manner, the situation will improve. But barring that, I don't see an end to this conflict. It'll continue. It'll have its ups and downs, but it will continue.
Okay, Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, bringing you back into the conversation. So I'd just like to understand from you, when we now see a major realignment taking place in this region, how do you think then is going to be shaping up the region in the next few years to come?
Thank you, Devika. Well, let me tell you one thing what General Katoch was bringing out. This point is very valid, because there has been a lot of study done and it is in these areas with Baloch and the military forces, paramilitary forces. They're doing a lot of drug smuggling, and a lot of aspects are happening. So the question is, the central aspect of agency in the Iran, they are wanting and they are trying to put in more and more pressure to let this stop. The basic differences are Shia and Sunni, there's no doubt about it. But the question here is how to do it. And the regime change, which is probably General Cardozo was bringing out, was that the thinking process has to be eliminated. The clash between Shia and Sunni, the marked difference between them has to simmer down, has to be cut short. That aspect is there. That is why the people to people contact, the minister to minister contact in Iran and Pakistan is taking place. But let me answer your question. The entire area is now going to face a different aspect because China has suddenly woken up and is facing a lot of challenges. The challenges are there where it has already pumped in $110 billion, not 60 billion as is reported. $110 billion in the economic corridor which they're thinking they'll revive. And that aspect is being curtailed by America. America does not want to do it. So the more money they pump in Iran, the more upheaval takes place in Iran. And that is going to affect the entire area. But the trade is going to be very much affected. For the next 10 years, you will find this conflict will not simmer down. It will come up in various aspects. It will keep coming up. Whether Jordan and America get involved again, whether American fleet operates in a larger area. India's economy is getting curtailed in the Middle East. I mean, the economic corridor which we are planning out, a transcontinental, the route which we are planning out is going to get curtailed. In spite of Egypt, Qatar, and Iran, America, they're trying to get together to bring in peace. For next 8 to 10 years, this will continue in this similar manner. There is no respite. So let us face, we have to change our stand in this area and see how we stand. We have to maintain our posture with Iran very steadily. And I think change with Pakistan is also on due for India. We are now trying to curtail tension and we are coming closer as far as Pakistan is also concerned and Iran is also concerned. That is where our interest lies. I think we would be doing quite well if we manage this. To curtail China also, it will be automatically curtailed if we increase our relationship with Iran at the moment. That is going to take place. But let us hope something comes out of it.
Okay, interesting. Major Sudhakarji, your perspective on the same, sir. When in Iran and Pakistan fight with each other, ironically, on terrorism, on claims that either country, like I said, is providing safe haven to terrorists that are working against the interests of the other nation. And a major aspect of that for Pakistan becomes the Balochistan region itself. Does that somewhere, this conflict then in a longer run, work actually in the favor of India?
Devika, very interesting question you have asked. Anything happening in Pakistan or in Iran has got a direct and indirect bearing on the internal stability of India as also the stability and tranquility along the border. This is my understanding, but let me just allow me to make couple of quick points. First and foremost, as per my understanding, the basic trigger or the objective of all this was to prevent a peace and harmony to settle between Saudi Arabia and Israel, or a kind of an Abraham Accord taking shape in the direction of a long-term peace. Call it as a kind of a thaw between the Shia and Sunni Muslim, Iran or Saudi Arabia, or whatever. It is whatever. If the Hamas has lost an attack, there is a very deep conspiracy of multiple stakeholders with China as the sleeping giant or the elephant in the room. It has been played in such a way, 36 stratagems so beautifully, so that the the person affected doesn't know that China is at its start point, and the basic aim and objective of this game has been to win in the strategic rivalry between China and the USA in West Asia. Second. Third point, if at all the peace and harmony has to return to West Asia, which is not difficult, you bring Donald Trump. Mark my words, I've got a black tongue and I can give analysis in subsequent panel discussion if time permits. Let Donald Trump comes. All the conflicts in the world will come to an end. This is my reading and my assessment. I don't think I'm wrong. But the only way to bring peace into Middle East is to isolate Iran or contain Iran from all cardinal directions as much as possible. How do you do that? One of the methods of doing it is to trigger or keep the pot boiling with a common border between Pakistan and Iran, because Pakistan is one of the strongest allies, non-NATO ally of USA. USA has to keep all its components active and alive to support its main mandate and the orientation, the achievement of its objective. So my take on the whole issue is, if Iran is contained externally as also internally, perhaps there is a silver lining at the end of the day. Maybe there is a backtrack to diplomacy which is already undergoing at different level. Maybe the Saudi Arabia is keeping quiet now because Saudi Arabia wants to get out of Yemen, doesn't want to go in for a confrontation against Iran in Yemen, that is against the Houthis, also doesn't want to confront the Iraqi militias which are being launched and supported by the Iranian forces. So maybe there is something going on. We don't even know about it. So therefore, all I would say is that all this put together with elections round the corner in Pakistan on 8th of February, we hope like hell that Nawaz Sharif comes back to power, which I think he should. And we also aspire and hope that peace and tranquility will come back to Indian borders, and some process of a progressive and forward-looking relationship will come about between India and Pakistan. But whether it will happen or not, because any good thing that has been initiated between Pakistan and India at any time post-independence, there has always been something like Kargil in the making. So therefore, we have to remain absolutely alert and absolutely watchful of that. Something nefarious may be undergoing. Be very careful. No good intentions in the world order or geopolitics today can be trusted. And if you put your guards down, maybe we will be caught unaware and we may be surprised. Back to you, Devika.
Okay, that's all the time that we have on this particular debate. But I thank all of our experts and panelists for joining us to take this very interesting conversation forward.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.